Hey guys, my name is Jason and I'm making this video because I've been struggling with this idea around training in the gym, like the morality around training in the gym and and being a service to God and not being in the gym and being self-serving. And I think what I mean by that is that I've been a trainer now for something like 16 years. And what I had struggled with is, like many trainers, you sort of start training just general population people. So just people who just come to the gym because they got their various goals they want to work on. But usually the goals are that they want to aesthetically look more pleasing. They want to lose weight and look better. And I think there's something admirable about that, that's not entirely self-serving. So that's entirely just selfish, and then we're just doing it because we want to um, look good in front of other people, and it's not in service to God, which I think is a real it's a real quagmire for me, because I felt like I wasn't like religious at this point as such. Like, I had gone to religious schools, but that doesn't really mean much, because like anyone would know, if you go to a religious school, usually you are worse off. Your knowledge is really just not very good, and a lot of people end up rejecting the religion altogether, and it's not, sometimes it's not great. And so I didn't really have a strong religious kind of foundation. I just felt like there was a part of me that knew that training people just for aesthetics, there was something wrong about that. And I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that it certainly wasn't motivating for me. But it also, there was something wrong with just being so self-absorbed that um, you know that just kind of irked me. So I ended up moving away from training people as a trainer, and I started training people for sports. So I started doing what's called strength and conditioning training, which is something I still do now, because the goal isn't entirely self-serving in that you're just looking at your body and thinking, oh, how can I look better? The goal is somewhat a little bit greater, a little bit different. You start to be like, okay, I want to get better at sport, and I want to make myself a better. I want to better myself, and go and make better improvements in the sporting realm. And it's like a shade better, but it's not perfect. And I started thinking to myself, it's like, you know, there is something good and true about wanting to come to the gym. And yeah, we should actually, and there's actually some obvious benefits of going to the gym too, like it's great for our health. And that's really good because it helps us live our lives, better, you know. Um, but there's more to it, I think, like we also have this thing where I heard a priest say one time that he was asked to give a piece of advice to the listeners of this show, and he had said, "Stay strong in spirit and in body." And then it got me sort of thinking. It's like, there's something to that. There is something that, when I was always my strongest, I was also my most virtuous. And I might have been virtuous in also the right. Um, I was virtuous maybe for the right in the right ways, but for the wrong reason. So I was actually quite virtuous in that I would hold good habits. I would eat well. I would be very consistent with my training, and when I was quite consistent in my training, I found it easier to say to make more responsible decisions, more good decisions about how I'm going to live my life, as far as like am I going to go out clubbing, or am I going to do certain things, right? And and then so there is something good there. So I think exercise can be quite good because it helps. The stronger your body gets, the stronger your will gets, the more virtuous you can become. And I was talking to a priest, and I actually, I was talking to one of my clients, and she saw one of the other clients struggling, like really struggling on an exercise, but she was pushing through and she was trying her hardest. And she said something quite interesting and something profound, and something that she wouldn't have realized was so profound, because I don't think she's quite religious or anything like this. But what she said, I think, was quite profound, and it's that she said, "Oh wow, you know, she's she's fighting demons over there." And she's just it's almost kind of like new age slang, but she's fighting demons. Like, she's like over there just like pushing through and like really pushing hard. Like you're fighting your inner demons. And I started thinking deeper about that. I'm like, I think that's kind of true. I think she is actually fighting demons over there, and what I mean by that is that she's fighting, you know, her inner doubts. She's fighting sloth. There's, you want to give up, but it's like you can do it. You push through, and then the more you learn to kind of push through at the gym, the more disciplined you kind of your mental ability becomes, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you can actually fight demons better. And you can fight your lesser urges. You can fight you know things that you shouldn't be doing, but you struggle to not do. And we all have those things. Like, for me, I really love to eat too much, and I love to eat the wrong foods way too much, and that's one of my struggles. But like, and I get distracted by social media way too much. I really love to scroll on that phone, and that was kind of hard for me. But then I felt, but um, by training in the gym, this is where we can actually learn. Like, this is where we can condition ourselves to serve God. And when we can actually be stronger physically and mentally, then we can actually start to become more disciplined in our spiritual life, or even in just how we carry ourselves, in other aspects. And I apologize as well, because what I'm saying is also a little bit ad hoc. I didn't rehearse any of this. It's just been something I've been thinking about for a bit, and I feel like this is quite useful. And I've been going through this sort of personal struggle too, where I've been thinking about what it is I want to do, because I want to do something that's going to serve God, and I want to do something that is meaningful. And I wasn't quite finding it in training people to get better at their sport, because where is that getting you exactly? It does make you better at your sport, but at some point you quit playing sport and you move on in life. And so all my work's kind of done at that point, and so a part of me just really needed to have a greater, deeper meaning. And so I've been thinking about this a bit more, and I've actually got this thing where what I want to do now is I want to um, go through my training session, and I don't know. Look, I'm going to try to make this thing happen every day, that I go to the gym and train. And I don't actually know where this is going to go. Maybe nowhere. Who knows? maybe this becomes something, but I feel like this could be very, very helpful for people. This could be really big. Like I had this one client. His name, actually, I'll keep his name to myself, but he was um, kind of a bit of a lost cause, and he's going to sound very familiar to a lot of you people because you'll probably know the same guy in a different body. And so this kid just spent probably like too much time playing on his computer, and he's got this computer tan, so he's like super pale. He's a bit full of acne, fairly malnourished, um, and you know, I had him. He came to the gym with his brother. His brother was training with me, but his brother's quite disciplined and really motivated. And but and he sees his brother struggling, I think, and thinks, oh, he should come to the gym and actually train. And so he brought his brother to the gym, and this kid was skinny, not strong, just unconditioned, and so I trained him that time, and then he came back maybe I think some other time like the following week, and then he would be off for like a few weeks, come back, and they'd be off for a month or so, and then he'll come back for a session, and then he'd just be on and off, but super inconsistent. I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't need this kid doing that, and because it's not productive for him and it's not productive for me. So I told him that, look, if you don't commit to this, and if you either come or don't come, because you're wasting my time and you're wasting your own time. And this kid was like, wow. And he showed up every day to the gym to train with me, and he did. And he he would he would say that he's like, I'm not coming in today, and I'd say, ask him why, and he's like, oh, I'm sick. And I said to him, I was like, come in anyways. You know, if you haven't got a fever and you're not, shaking, and come in. Doesn't matter. Come in. Because coming in and keeping the routine up is quite important. You know, and also I've trained plenty of times and I've just got like a little sore throat or something, or a bit of a cough or whatever. Um, and he did. He came in, and then all of a sudden, he was still struggling with his issues, which I knew he had. I later found out. I think he was a bit, he was alcoholic, and he was quite young too. He was only like uh, 17 or something when he first started training with me, and he was really had these struggles, and he generally like he was struggling with depression, and he he would always he'd always be getting sick, and then a year passes and he's just training constantly, and he's like, I haven't been sick all year. I'm like, oh wow, that's great, buddy. Like, that's really good. He's like, his immune system, or maybe mentally, he kind of made some really solid improvements, and then all of a sudden he's just not sick anymore. So I'm like, oh, this is excellent, buddy. And then you know but he was still just living at home with mum and just still playing the PlayStation or his computer way too much or whatever he was doing. And but eventually, he found a job, and then he started that job. He went through different jobs, but he now doesn't live with his parents. He doesn't live with his mum. He lives with his partner, and you know he really shaped himself up just from being really consistent at the gym. And I tell this story, I guess, is because just something like this can really, when you learn to be really consistent with something, and you're starting to get confidence in yourself, and you're gaining confidence in yourself, um, that can really make a huge difference to someone as like seemingly hopeless as this kid, because he really was just doing nothing. He's depressed, alcoholic, and only playing PlayStation all the time. You know, the chances of him getting a job and being productive in society were very low. and I think that that's an example of like, you do that, but also you do it in the intentions of like, I'll get stronger and I'll get mentally stronger and I can start to keep better habits and become more virtuous and I can be more useful to God, and I can be closer to God because I'm being able to control myself better. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through my session. It's not going to be my like a rep by rep session. It'll probably be like an exercise, and then you can kind of see, what I'm doing, and then we'll move on. Um, and I hope that you know I hope that maybe I can help uh, people, to take up their own training, and or if you're struggling with your training at the moment, you haven't got motivation, that perhaps we can get you on track and get you to lock in and dedicate yourself um, to training as best we can. And there's some things will come up in life where you're gonna have to not train that day or train that week, but we just keep coming back no matter what. And if you, I guess, like, if you want to ask me questions in the comment section, you can, and I will reply to them. Um, and I haven't really got a big plan for this, by the way. This is about as much as I've kind of thought about it, you know. But if I can help out in any way to get people, more sort of uh, mentally strong, so that way you can you know, commit to God even more. I mean, wow, this would just be amazing. Um, and like I said, um, this is your this is a way to strengthen yourself to fight back against things that are holding you back. And so by training in the gym, this is how we're gonna. This is one way to help strengthen us up. You know, this is how I got started. I got started because I was um, kind of overweight, and I was just my family were all on government funding, or the dole, as we say in Australia, and and we lived amongst other housing conditioned people, and there's this culture of victimhood, and there's this culture of hopelessness, and I kind of instinctually knew there was something wrong there. I needed to get away from it, and I saw what everyone was doing, and I tried doing the opposite. And I saw that I was quite overweight, and I wanted to try to fix that. And so I started going to the gym with my friend, and that's how I got started. I just kept going. My friend quit, and I had to make a decision whether I was going to keep going or not. And I decided I'm going to keep going, um, and um, and that really helped give me the motivation to get me out of that situation, to get working, to you know, um, to be productive in society too. And then eventually, um, all this led me back to God, which is actually pretty crazy. That's a story for another time, though. All right, so I'm just going to take you through what I do today. And if you have any questions or you want help, you just let me know. Oops, I forgot one more thing, probably the most important thing that we probably could be doing before we start our training. And it's not stretching, warming up, or whatever. It's actually it'd be appropriate to start with a prayer. So feel free to join me. Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. My dear Lord, please give me the strength to get through this session, to honor you through this session, and Lord, please help make this session about you, not about me. I want to strengthen myself for you, Lord, so that I might do your will. Glory be to God. Amen. The Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. One thing I've always struggled with training is my knees would kind of hurt when I squat. Now, when I say kind of, it's probably a little bit of an understatement. It hurt a fair bit. And so I'm a little bit of a knucklehead, and I don't like um, going asking professionals for help because I'm quite stubborn, and it's the upside is that I learn how to fix things myself. Usually, the downside is it takes forever because I just trial and error this whole time. So I found that I actually struggle with internal and external rotation issues in my hip, and that is actually what's causing my knee issues. And so I like to start my session with a bit of rolling. I like to roll out my adductors, and I like to roll out my hip flexors. And then the next thing I like to do is do a little bit of a mobility slash strengthening exercise. So this exercise helps. So right now I'm going into internal rotation on my left side, external rotation on my right side, and I'm just going to go back and forth through that. And that I can feel that in my back right now as well. I can just really feel how stiff my hips are. I've been traveling a lot in the last couple of weeks, and real stiff. So I'm just going to do a bunch of this until that all feels a bit loose now. Now, ideally, you don't sway back and forth for this, you just go up and down. Now, this is a really cool exercise if you got knee and hip issues. Just grab onto a pole. Try to stay as like a regular squat for you as possible. Don't do a squat that's not your regular squat. And then just come in and out. Okay? Right now I'm feeling a bit of a pinch in my hip, especially as I go internal, and then as I go out, I'm getting like a little bit of tightness from my adductors. That's okay. This will kind of loosen that off. There doesn't have to be a number of how many of these you do, but if you want a number, maybe try like 20 in and out. Alrighty, here we go. So you should always start warming up with a bar, no matter what. No matter how much of a rush you're in, you're better off warming up with a bar and missing out on your top set than missing the warm up and jumping to your top set. So I'm going to be doing a bit of a bodybuilding program. The benefits of this are that it builds a really good foundation. It builds a really good foundation. It helps stabilize your joints, and it helps build muscle for when you go to do strength training later. Let's put a little bit weight on this bad boy. So I'm not looking to go terribly heavy here today. I'm just looking. I'm just looking to build some muscle. And one issue I've had a lot coming up in the gym is my ego, me wanting to be better, but in a self-serving kind of way, is that I wanted to lift heavy and at the cost, just because everyone else was, not because that's what I needed to do. Now, what we want to look for here, seeing as that we're doing some bodybuilding, is that we want to look for 7 out of 10, like not 7 out of 10, a 7 reps in reserve, or what's commonly known as 7 RIR. RIR. So I should talk slowly because I don't speak very well. And so that means a 7 reps in reserve. So what that means is, once I finish that set, I ask myself, how many more reps could I have done? If the answer is 5, I need to go heavier. If the answer is 3, I can only do 3 extra reps just by feeling, by guess. Then I'm probably on the money with how much weight I'm lifting. That's going to help us optimally lift at the right weight to build the most muscle possible. So I must admit, this is not an exercise I do a lot, and I haven't done much in the past. But I've actually quite recently moved to this gym, and I've been exposed to more equipment and been a little bit more open-minded. I've been quite enjoying this a lot, actually. I've been liking the hack squat a lot. But this isn't, and probably if you can help it, shouldn't be your primary exercise for training, in my opinion. It is definitely good. A lot of people will say it's the best exercise for growing your quads, which I think is true. I think that might actually be very true. But that's fine. But quads is only one part of it. One part of your legs is one. And so there's a few different things that you're going to get out of a squat that you're not going to get out of this. You're not going to get as good a mobility. You're not going to get as good stability. You're not going to get as many different muscle activations. Like you're not going to get your glutes, your quads and your back, your core involved in this exercise as you would in a squat. And it's a good. And you don't have to squat. You don't have to, but it'd be really good if you could, because it shows that you got good mobility. It shows that you got good stability. It'll help get you better core control. And it says a lot about you if you can do like a full squat. So, but I'm saying that, of course, it doesn't entirely matter. If you've got some physical limitations that stops you, that aren't improvable, let's say, It's that's fine. This is still really good. It's still really really good. So but I use this as more as an accessory exercise as opposed to a my primary exercise. And and because it's not my main exercise, I'm not going to probably lift as heavy on it as I could my primary exercise because I'm probably a little bit tired by now, and that's okay as well. So remember, our goal here is to be because I'm bodybuilding, and our goal here is actually to lift with 7 reps in reserve. So I need to do my sets, and I need to figure out that okay, I can't lift any. I would probably only be able to do like another 3 reps at this weight. And then I know I'm on the right track. I know I'm going to be doing the right amount of weight for building muscle, and that which is my goal at the moment. But if you got your own goals and you got some things that you're working on, uh, comment in the comment section, and you got any questions or maybe some advice, or even just some advice on how to be around the gym, how to you know like should we be going to gyms where maybe women aren't wearing appropriate clothing and they're quite exposed, maybe some issues around that you want to talk about, far away. And if I don't answer it in the comment section, I'll do my best to put it in the video that I do next. um, let's get to it. Similar to the squat, because this is actually a bit of a compound exercise and it's a big exercise, I usually do my first set unweighted and just the weight of the machine, for just to kind of warm up a little bit more into it, and then I like to build from there on. All right, so I'm doing what's commonly known as a superset. Now, as many of you would know that, but there's a really good benefit to this is that you save time because we can't just go to the gym for hours. The other benefit to it is that our heart rate stays up. It could really, really be a really good way to just improve your fitness as an added bonus to all this, because otherwise you are just going to be sitting around for about a minute or so before you can actually get into your next step. And instead of doing that, if you can work the next muscle group and keep bouncing between the 2 exercises, really good way to get through your session, especially for bodybuilding. It doesn't apply for everything, like strength. You don't want to do this for strength, obviously, but not for real strength. If you want to do strength endurance, that's okay. But if you want to do build real strength, that's not ideal. But this is really good. Alrighty, we're going to do some RDLs. Now, RDLs are a notoriously hard exercise. I remember coming up in the fitness industry when I first started, and something that you're kind of always taught to do, or at least I was always taught to do, and a lot of people I've worked with were taught to do, was to teach people how to squat, to deadlift, to lunge, to bench, to pull, to push pull, all that sort of stuff, right? So like the primary movements we call them, and it's good that you should be able to do all that stuff. And what I always saw was trainers try to do this exercise with their clients, and then them backing away, not wanting to teach their clients anymore, because it can be quite hard for a lot of people, and some people it comes very natural to them, and but not an exercise you should be afraid of. Actually, a really good one that you should try to do well. And what this will do is, if you can do an RDL very well, this will save your back in the future. Because what tends to happen is people will not be very good at hinging at the hips or bending at the hips, and they tend to bend at their back. So in other words, instead of doing this, they do this. And that tends to put you in a position where you're overloading your back a lot, wearing it out, and your back's sore a lot of times because you're bending through your back and not through your hips, and your hips are sort of seized up. So that causes other issues like with your knees. But if you can learn how to do this really well, you can open up your hips and RDL really well. And you start to say pick up general things in life with a straight back. You'll find that your back actually really is pretty much going to be pain free, or at least you're not going to hurt your back lifting things up in the future. Or at least it's going to really limit the chances of that happening. And so RDL is a really great way for building your hamstrings. So it's just a really good movement in general everyday life to kind of get you in a position where you can pick up things without being really worried about picking up things and hurting yourself. So let's go. And what you'll notice is I'm actually not got my legs stiff. They're slightly bent, but they do not bend during the exercise. And it helps to keep your eyes up at something in front of you, not looking down. Looking down will have you more likely around in your back, and if you're inclined to doing that in the first place, don't take the chances. Keep your eyes up. It'll help strengthen. It'll help switch on your back muscles, and it'll really help strengthen your deadlift. Now, there's a lot more to learn about the deadlift, and I'll go over it in future episodes, I think. Alright, that's my session done. Now, if you want to continue on this adventure with me and see how all this goes, hang in there. And if you have it in your heart, bless me by perhaps even saying a prayer, we love it. And maybe a prayer that I can help reach more people with what I'm doing here. And as always, glory be to God.